Good morning, sweet world, and welcome to the No Dunks podcast on the Athletic Network. It's Thursday, June 27th, 2024. I'm J.E. Skeets here in the Classic Factory, and alongside me, as always, Tass Mellis.
Podcast listeners, this is for you.
Next to him, it's the bearded one, my top shot hot boy, Trey Kirby.
Heyo.
Heyo. And last but not least, making the magic happen, super producer JD.
Hello.
There he is, and here we are to recap night one of the NBA draft. Can you believe we got to do this all over again later today? With night two, day two, really, as they get ready at 4 o'clock this afternoon. So let's do some NBA draft winners, losers, surprises, big questions. We'll jump around and then get to some random notes. Tass, who's your big winner from draft night?
I got the Zards, the Washington Wizards, because they have picked a direction. They realize that the Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma, Gafford, Avdia thing just ain't working. Goes back to the trade deadline. They traded Gafford. And then going into the draft, they traded Avdia. Love that guy. He's had a great season. Really, really good. Every single good team out there wants Denny Avdia. Goes to the Portland Trailblazers. Not a good team. But they traded
that bad.
yeah, Malcolm Brogdon and 2 first-round picks, essentially. The number 14 in yesterday's draft and a future pick. And then they go into the draft, and I thought at the number 2 pick, I wish for them that they had the number 1 pick, but Alexandre Sarr only worked out for them. Didn't work out for the Atlanta Hawks, I suppose because there's rumors that he just didn't like the future of the Hawks. They obviously have Clint Capella and Onyeka Okongwu at center, so he was happy to work out for the Wizards. He goes there with the number 2 pick. He's got a fellow Frenchman with Bilal Koulibaly there. He can play defense. He can protect the rim. Some people say he's got the most potential out of anybody in the draft. And then with the number 14 pick that they got in that Avdia trade, I should say, they got Bob Carrington, great name.
Good name.
From Pittsburgh, number 4. He scores everywhere. He gets people involved. And then they traded up for the 24 pick in Keyshawn George, who from Miami shoots the ball extremely well at 41% from 3. And as we will see later, if you're watching on YouTube, he gets his handles going at all times. He grabbed the ball from the table at the draft and started dribbling it. That gold ball, which was cool. First time I think they've given a gold ball to each player that's potentially being drafted.
Yeah,
Personalized for sure.
A little engraved on it there. He had it down. He's just like, I play ball at all times. He must sleep with
It's
that
a real
thing.
hooper.
Yeah, so I was a little, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, he didn't want to work out to be the number 1 pick, which is weird. He's like, I got to worry about Clint Capella and Onyeka Okongwu. How could I ever outpace those guys?
Alexandre Sarr you're talking about?
Yeah. But if you're the Wizards, you got to be happy. Somebody wants to come to Washington. And I think that's important for them. I thought it was weird trading Avdia, but I think they're making up for it by getting 3 picks in a first round of a draft that people aren't that excited about. But they've got potential to be the worst team in the league, which is important because then they could actually get a franchise guy maybe next year.
Exactly. And they realized that with Poole and with Kyle Kuzma, who they could obviously deal as well, things were not good last season. They have Malcolm Brogdon now, who could be around, maybe not to make them better, but to help out Jordan Poole a little bit. But the thing is, the front office is looking at this and saying, we want a long-term picture here of being bad. Yes, they could go and try, potentially, be the Cooper Flag guys next season in the draft. They're looking to be bad, and Denny Avdia has gotten so good with their team. But I think it did make sense to start tearing it down, and Kuzma could be next.
Yeah, it appears like, because of where they came from, that front office is going to lean into the Thunder model of just high upside prospects, draft assets, and go that route and try it. Because like you said, Sarr, Bub, Keyshawn George, who's working on the handle there, these guys are not going to help them win next year. But they're all really young, none older than 19. So I think that's the thinking here. But Denny Avdia being dealt to the Blazers. Bit of a surprise before we went live last night on playback for the draft because he's on a great contract. Really good contract that declines actually as you move the 4 years on. It starts in 24-25. So Portland getting him and then getting Donovan Clingan last night falls to him. So you have the Wizards as a winner. I know we're going to be jumping around here a lot. Where are you going next?
France. France is honestly the big winner in this draft. The number 1 and number 2 picks, Ricochet, followed by Alex Sarr. Then Tijan Solon went 6 to the Hornets, and Pacom Dadier later on. I think he was a Knicks pick, right? But he might not come over and play, though he says he wants to be in the NBA. this season. I saw it was the first time a country other than America had 3 picks in the top 10 of a draft. It all goes back to the 2019 World Cup when France took down the United States and all those Boston Celtics that were on the team at the time. That really changed the way the basketball world looked at the French team because they've had the number 1 pick last year and then the top 2 this year. The Hawks, they took Michel Porter Jr. is what it seems like to me, and the Wizards took Nick Claxton. I don't know if these guys are going to be great players, but in this draft, you take some guys that you think might have some potential further down the road. And if you're the Hawks, you're like, okay, we got Jalen Johnson, a big running forward who can play a little bit of defense. You have to hope that Risa Shea turns out to be what people say he is, a 3-point shooter who also plays a little bit of defense. Everybody wants wings that can do stuff. The Hawks might have 2 of them. They also have 2 centers that they would be happy to move on from, and 2 guards they would be happy to move on from, not to mention DeAndre Hunter, another wing they would be happy to move on from.
Absolutely.
Bogdan Bogdanovic, he's on the bench. They'll probably keep him. I think they'll keep.
Yeah.
Everybody else, though, up for grabs. I don't know. Risa Shea was the number 1 pick for a while, then he wasn't for a while, then he swung back into being the number 1 pick, then they interviewed him, and it would be hard to be excited about Risa Shea coming to Atlanta.
I have to agree with that. I mean, we were reacting on playback last night, going, he looks a little shell shocked.
Yes, indeed.
This is a lot. He does not scream number 1 pick. But look, we've been told this is a weak draft at the top for a very long time now. We'll see if it's true. But yeah, he's thrown into Atlanta here, and I guess they didn't overthink it in the end. Like, this is our guy. Sarr won't even come work out for us, so we'll take this kid here on the wing. Take a French guy. It worked out for the Spurs. Let's try it again.
Bro, they were fired up in the draft. You made the number 1 pick. You called it in. They were going wild in there.
They're going wild because that member of the Hawks front office has never called one in before, I guess. He's been there for 20 years.
He never used the phone?
Well, he's been there for 20 years. This was year 20 for him.
He pressed 9. He knows that's what you got to press before you got to dial out.
You got to talk to Adam.
I don't think they were excited for getting Alex for getting Risa Shea the same way they were excited for that guy just to call. Because State Farm Arena, and it looked like it was pretty packed. 10,000 fans were not all that excited either.
Yeah.
Risa Shea was maybe just nervous, just extremely nervous.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's not necessarily that he's going to be bad, but you can see us looking at, as everyone has said, this is sort of a subpar, yes, the computer's working, a subpar draft. And so it's the picture that front offices are painting, for me, that are a good sign. And multiple picks, because maybe one of those hits. But I'm not sure what the Hawks are doing. It sure feels like the Hawks should be slowly, one by one, taking these bricks down. They have so many players to trade. In Hunter, Capella, who knows what they do.
And obviously one of their backcourt guys if they decide to blow that up and pick either the direction of Trae Young or DeJounte Murray. They have a lot of questions here still, but they took the French guy. Yeah, 4 Frenchmen in the first round, 3 in the top 6 picks. No nation other than the States, of course, have had 3 players picked in the top 10 of a single draft before. So a little history made there last night. But all these guys are, they're all projects, all 4 of them. So we'll see if a number of them can hit. Let's talk a little bit about probably the most surprising, most aggressive trade, the Wolves trading a 2031 unprotected first-round pick and a top 1 protected 2030 first-round pick swap in exchange for San Antonio's number 8 pick and the right to select Kentucky guard Rob Dillingham. This is a team, obviously, that was like a contender this season. Obviously, one of the last teams playing, and they decide to use what basically was like their last remaining future draft capital to get up to number 8 and again take Dillingham there and get the very exciting but small guard to hopefully contribute alongside Anthony Edwards and maybe replace Mike Conley. Were you shocked by this move by the Wolves here?
A little bit.
Yeah.
This was an aggressive move for them because they can't do a lot in free agency. So they said we must get a guy another way to basically add to their team, which by all accounts now means that they're not trading any of their big players because there was rumors that Cat may be dealt after this conference finals appearance, but that's gone. They go and get this guy to help them out, to help out what they have. And so I seem to like it. I really don't know a lot about Rob Dillingham other than they like him a lot. So it fits some needs, and that's a good thing. They may move other parts. There's the Kyle Anderson talk and all that, but a good sign that this team wants to go for it.
Yeah. The draft sort of report on Dillingham is he is lightning in a bottle.
Okay.
He is he's ranking as one of the best scorers in the draft class, and he is a freshman, so he's young. Also underrated passer, brings real creativity. His biggest weakness, it's defense. This guy's not much bigger than me. This guy's like 6'1", 165 pounds. So he's small, but again, he's electric. I mean, you see or hear like comparisons like to Kyrie, right? Like a sort of a wizard with the ball. But if there's one team where maybe you can hide the limitations defensively, it would be a team like the Wolves, in theory, with Rudy Gobert behind them. But what do you think of the Spurs moving off of that number 8 pick as well, and the Wolves being the team to do it?
Well, I think the Spurs are kind of hinting to everybody that, yeah, Victor Wembanyama is going to be great. He's going to improve a lot in his second year. The Spurs will probably take a step forward. They drafted Stephon Castle, a guy who should be helpful as well. But they're basically saying, pump the brakes. We're still going to be bad here. You know, we're not going to necessarily be trying to get into the play-in tournament just because we have Wembanyama. Taking our time, do it right. I think that's pretty smart for the Spurs, and I think this is great for the Timberwolves. They're easily one of the winners of the draft because they made the Final Four and they added a lottery pick. Nobody else has done that so far. It is going to be a little bit expensive, you know. Top 1 protected swap. Love to see that kind of protection in 2030, 2031. Unprotected. Things could go poorly, I suppose, in the next 6 seasons for Minnesota. You just can't guarantee anything that far out, but they found a way to add something to their team that also addresses a need, and they stay young and a little bit cheap whenever Mike Conley finally decides to retire. 44% for 3 from Rob Dillingham is pretty solid, and then the other guy they drafted, Terrence Shannon Jr., he's like almost 24 years old, so they have to imagine that he'll come in and be Kelly Oubre type player or something like that off the bench for him.
2031, the pick that they
How many
traded
times will that be traded?
Oh boy, yeah.
That pick will be traded like 8 times by the time we get there. I saw Jake Fisher write about Dillingham. His physical profile stands quite similar to that of Bones Highland, the Clippers guard whom Minnesota president Tim Connolly once drafted when he was picking for the Nuggets. So,
yeah, but Bones Highland stinks.
Well, I know. So. I'm just saying. I mean, hopefully Rob Dillingham is much better than that.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're banking on here. But
he's a hit or miss guy. He could be anywhere from Kyrie Irving to Bones Highland. That's what you just told me.
Yeah,
He'll probably end up a Jordan Clarkson, which would be a helpful player for
Somewhere
the
in the
Timberwolves. They needed a little bit more shot creation off the bench.
Yeah. Was there a big surprise, or what was the most shocking sort of pick in the lottery to you last night, TK?
In the lottery, I would say Ron Holland going to the Pistons. He was a player that was number 1 on John Hollinger's big board. You know why. He's biased because of the name, but he seems like a great player. He was a guy that was like a top 2 recruit coming out of high school, went to the G League Ignite, averaged 20 points a game, but then he got hurt. The percentages were not great from 3, so he kind of took some dings because he wasn't ever able to kind of like battle back in the rankings. It's just odd because he's a guy that seems like he'll thrive with the ball in his hands. I do like that he brings some defense and he really brings some dogness to the Pistons, which I feel like they've got some quieter guys, quiet leaders on their team, but it just feels like a lot of mouths to feed with this team, where Cade Cunningham, you know, he's going to be handling the ball a lot. Jaden Ivey needs the ball quite often. You don't want Amen Thompson as a spacer, or sorry, Asar Thompson, I suppose, for the Pistons. You don't want him as a spacer. Holland probably isn't a spacer right now. Kind of feels like Detroit is still heavily in rebuild mode, drafting a guy like Holland, who's one of the youngest guys in the draft.
Yeah, back to back number 5 picks for them. But it seems like they got a guy who should have been higher, but he was injured. As we went and called that Skyhawks game, he was not there. He was injured for a long period of time. But yeah, he was number 1 for, as he is in Hollinger's draft board for a lot of people, but it just seemed to drop a little bit. They have a lot of young talent. Very interested to see what they do, if they do move any of those. But yes, I mean, being at 5, I know it's Pistons life to look back and say, ugh, this again, they didn't go up higher. What are they going to be in their future? That's being said, it seems like at this point, right here, right now, that Ron Holland should be worth more than the number 5 pick when you see stuff like Risa Shea on some people's boards at the 13 mark, as he was on Hollinger's board and picked that number 1. So I got to be a little excited for the Pistons in that there's a lot of talented guys. And now that the coaching situation moves or has changed, that just everything, as you said, there should be a little bit more dog in that locker room, just a little bit more cohesion with everybody.
I think when you like double down on why it was extra surprising was maybe a lot of people thought when Donovan Clingan was still available on the board that the Pistons might draft him at number 5 and then deal him to the highest bidder, because there's a lot of talk, maybe the Grizzlies want to move up, maybe, this team wants to move up to get him. And instead, they just said, you know what, let's not overthink it. Let's just take talent still here, like prospect, promising. And then so they stuck with Holland. And then the Hornets, there was talk of them moving down, but in the end, they took another French guy in Salon. And so there was Klingon left for the Blazers at number 7. Surprised some people because of who they have on their roster, Trey. I mean, they obviously have DeAndre Ayton. They have Time Lord, Robert Williams. I mean, those 2 centers. And now they took, really one of the best centers in this draft class, who people think is going to make an immediate impact defensively and will probably have a long career. Were you shocked that they did that? You like the move from Portland, in pairing it with getting Avdia and stuff like that?
I think the Blazers are kind of telling us, hey, we need to be better on defense. I think they finished 23rd last year in defensive efficiency. Bringing in Avdia as a wing defender, that helps. Klingon is going to be their rim protector. I don't know if they go twin towers with Ayton. Ayton, I do think probably could kind of play the 4. He doesn't quite shoot threes, but he loves to shoot mid-rangers. And I think you're getting a little bit better defensively by adding Klingon. I'm not really too worried about Time Lord. I think he's a good player, but the guy's out of the lineup all the time. He didn't play this season. They could move him somewhere. I suppose they could move Ayton somewhere. I know Bulls fans have been trying to figure out a way to dump Zach LaVine on the Blazers for Ayton, which honestly maybe not a bad idea, but getting the Avdia contract I think is smart. That was such a weird trade to me. It's like, I didn't feel like the Blazers needed to do it or the Wizards needed to do it, but it kind of works for both teams. So, yeah, I mean, maybe it looks awkward with Ayton and Klingon, but I don't think either of those guys is so good that you have to build around either of them. They're building around Scoot, Simons, and then, maybe if Shaedon Sharpe ever turns into anything.
Yeah, and one reason they did it, I think, were their books, Portland, right? In trading Malcolm Brogdon for Denny Avdia's, like I said, 4-year, $55 million deal, which just goes down. Brogdon, $22.5 million. That's expiring after this next season, but it now leaves Portland roughly $1 million under the luxury tax, so a little more room to play with here. So I think it really was working the books. And Denny Avdia is actually a good player. I mean, he's not a superstar, but a good defensive guy that we got to get better on that end. And now we've got Klingon. They should be better, at least defensively.
Yeah, they better be. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what Joe Cronin is doing there, because Jeremy Grant is also there with a big contract there. They definitely want to get better defensively. Denny Avdia is a player for the modern day NBA. He's 6'9". He can defend the best player on the other team. He can take the ball to the hoop. This is a year of the most attempts at the rim, shooting really good percentages, shooting really well from 37%. The guy is just good. Every good team wants him. As I was saying when we were looking at Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington, guys that were on terrible teams and then just plucked by the Dallas Mavericks. This guy would be exactly the same situation. Phoenix would love to have this guy. He would be so good. I said OKC as well. They got a Caruso now. They don't need Denny Avdia. Denny Avdia is just damn good. But look at that team. I just don't know what that team is. Yes, he's going to improve their defense. Klingon, the only guy who guarded Zach Edey one-on-one in college basketball this season. Everybody else was doubling Zach Edey. Oh, he's going to be good, but what is this team? I'm still unclear. As you said, they're building around the Scoots.
Scoots and the Sharps.
Scoots and the Sharps. This is a draft.
The Simons.
Team. Yeah. Some teams got to be the worst teams in the league.
They're just bad.
Yeah, they are.
And to pay them, they're paying so many guys. They're paying Simons as well. They're paying Grant and Ayton. Yeah, they're just bad.
And they may not be done, obviously, moving here. But back to the draft. Zach Edey was the big question mark last night. Where's he going to go? Is it going to be a lottery pick? Is he going to fall out? Who's going to take this guy? And it was the Grizzlies in the end, Trey. And I know over the last week or so, it feels like you've become a big Zach Edey guy. You've taken the Edey pill. And you're all in.
I've taken the Edey
do you
pill.
Do you like the spot where he landed and the Grizzlies going for him here?
I don't know. If I'm being quite honest, it went down in my head scratchers tier.
Okay.
Because I'm like, huh? Zach Edey screening for Ja Morant. I love that.
That's nice.
It was pretty funny that people were like, Zach Edey is the best screener in this draft. And that matters. And it actually might matter for the Memphis Grizzlies because they have succeeded with Jonas Valanciunas as their center and Steven Adams as their center. Coming into the draft, everybody thought it was going to be Klingon was the guy that they were going to be chasing after to pair with Jaren Jackson Jr. Apparently couldn't get that done because the Blazers were ahead of them. They didn't want to pay the price to move up. So they're going with Edey, who to me, at the very least, he's going to be a bucket off the bench. I don't know how he's going to literally keep pace with Ja Morant running the court. But I don't know. The guy's just so big, and he is skilled, and he can play 40 minutes a night. in college.
Yeah.
So, like, he has fitness, you know, for being a guy who's 7'4", 300+ pounds. I think he can at least be around for a while.
Yeah. What'd you make of this? You believe in Edey?
Yeah, I'm believing in him because he's gotten better every single year. I know the whole report is he didn't start playing basketball until his sophomore year in high school. And in high school, the stats weren't good. He averaged 2.2 as a senior in high school. 2.2 points. But he got better every single season in college. And is he a bucket? Yeah. Right hand, left hand, either box, he will score. He's got a lot of gravity because he's so big. I know
it catches everything, too.
Yeah, he catches everything.
He's got good hands for a big-ass dude, yeah.
Now, is he too slow for the other end? I do think
Probably is.
But he's not just a good post player. After reading about it, because I didn't watch every single play of him throughout the year, he's a good roller to the rim. And Ja and him could be very good at that. Like, he's very talented. He will have a lot of gravity on the offensive end. I could see him playing the 5 and Jaren Jackson Jr. going back to the 4, like you said. There's Steven Adams, Jonas Valanciunas life pre this season where Jaren Jackson Jr. was the 5. I could see them playing together, and they're going to have a really good defense, you know, outside of Zach Edey, right? Because they do have Marcus Smart, and they do have Jaren Jackson Jr. playing the 4, and then there's Ja and Bane. So I think they've always been a really good defense. And so I do think because he drives or he attracts so much gravity on the offensive end, like you are gonna see a second body come his way. He can score down low. The question is the defensive end. But as Trey said, he's gotten better athletically every single season.
Yeah.
Apparently.
He's continually proved people wrong. I mean, he's obviously been doubted at every level. And it's like, no, this is probably where he'll tap out. All of a sudden, he just continues to get better. But it's going to be fun as hell to see. I mean, think about how much we loved Boban Marjanovic. This guy never played, and we would go nuts every time he was in there. It was a sight to see. This guy actually, you know, younger, more physically fit, I think, despite his size still. He'll play. I don't think he's going to play, he's not going to play 40 minutes a game, but off the bench, 20, 25, I definitely could give it to you. Give it to the Grizzlies here. Can't wait to see those screens, though, man.
Can't wait to see those screens, bro. Oh,
what
man.
a wall. So, yeah, that was a fun pick. Was there a surprising slide? A name that you thought was going to go higher and fell down the draft?
I mean, the biggest slide was Dalton Connect.
Yep.
Going to the Lakers, they got him with, the 17th pick?
Yep.
It ended up being, which is working out really nice for them. It's basically a redo of last year's draft when they had Jaime Jaquez Jr. sitting right there, a guy who would have helped. Instead, they took Jalen Hood-Schifino, and he played a handful of minutes all season. So we know that the Lakers need shooting and people who can play right away. So I think they did a good job getting Dalton Connect. I saw that Kofi on Twitter last night was calling him and Austin Reeves the beer pong bros.
The beer pong bros.
Yeah, because you can imagine those guys around the beer pong table hitting from deep.
Right.
Reeves and Connect.
I also saw Ziller, I think, wisely say you can put it maybe in pen that Connect will be Vegas Summer League MVP.
That's a great call.
Older guy.
Shoots
You
it.
got the Lakers vibe, and crowds are always huge there in Vegas. I like that as well. And I guess JJ Redick was pumped too.
Oh, he just started drawing down pin downs.
Just couldn't stop drawing plays.
Look at this.
So yeah,
honestly, if they're running pin downs for Dalton Connect, it's gone poorly for the Lakers. I'll say that.
That's true. But
no offense.
He is apparently, by all reports, ready-made NBA scorer here in this draft because of his age, because of what he can do offensively, shoot the ball. He can put it on the ground a little bit. He's not one-dimensional. He's a scorer, this guy. So Lakers got to be happy with getting him.
Absolutely. Yeah, Redick will be drawing up similar plays that he ran as a player, and he'll be doing the court mapping with Dalton Connect. He's a vet, as we said. That is a good point about they could have had Jaime Jaquez last year. Now they got a guy who can score, so he helps. He seems like he can score, so it's a good move. Yeah.
Basically, everybody thought he was a top 10 pick, and they got him at 17.
Right.
And it's not dissimilar to Cam Whitmore, though they dropped, obviously, for different reasons. But the steal of the draft is Montes Puzelas.
There it is.
The Bulls,
Finally. It is. Yeah,
an Illinois boy, Lithuanian heritage, drafted by the Chicago Bulls, who have a Lithuanian GM. On the 40th anniversary of drafting Michael Jordan. It's almost too perfect, Skeets. They got a top 5 talent at number 11. This guy could have been the number 1 pick if he made 40% of his threes.
Hey, if he just hit his shots, he'd be Michael Jordan.
I love it, though. He talks trash. It came time to do his post-draft interview, and the first thing he did was say thank you to my haters. Yeah. Even before thanking his supporters and his family. I thought that was incredible. But look, Who knows if he's going to be able to shoot? We have seen a lot of forwards come into the league who are 6'9", 6'10", great athletes, can grab it off the glass, take it the other way. If their shot comes around, they're going to be so good. A lot of those guys fail, but they picked him number 11. They didn't pick him 5. They didn't pick him 1. This is a good swing for the Bulls, who, more than anything, like, there are a lot of needs the Bulls have to actually be a good team. But like Ricky O'Donnell said, what the Bulls really need is star potential. They don't have a star on their team right now. I don't know if Bucelis ever becomes that guy, but for the 11th pick, there aren't a lot of choices that could become that guy. So now I'm completely sold on this guy, and all you fools in the top 10 are going to regret it.
Oh, my God. Are they back?
Not until they're 500 or over.
Okay.
Never happened last season.
Well, they're 0-0 right now. I guess it's 500 in a
It gotta
weird
be
way.
over. Gotta be over.
Okay. Well, Buzelis, fallen. Do you have any other names or picks you wanted to address here, Tass?
Well, for us laymen about college basketball, you kind of want to see teams take a chance. And that's why I'm surprised that Nikola Topic, who has been deemed as a really good player, had to drop to number 12. And I know he's injured, but OKC's front office said this guy could be extremely good. And they're in a situation where they can just not play a guy for a year because he is trying to overcome his ACL injury. So it's going to be a while before he does that. And it literally could be a season. But the guy can just sling the ball around. He is a ball handler. And it just seemed like he'll fit in if he can play really, really well with OKC. So I think that's just deems well. That is the type of front office that everybody wants. Like, that's why I think the Washington Wizards, who have a lot of OKC front office graduates, is doing that type of thing. And that's why I think that they are in the right direction, as is Topic. He just seems good. All those highlights, he's 18 years old. The photos are him in braces because he's that young, but he looks good. He looks really good.
And, he will not play for a year, and they'll just have him a year later. Yep. They'll have like almost like 2 picks is the way to look at it. I mean, sort of what happened with Chet Holmgren with the injury and stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. They just took him. They're like, let's not overthink it. We like this guy. He can sort of do a bit of everything. Looks like he could be a guard in this league. Don't worry. You partially tore your ACL. It's okay. You don't need to come play this year.
We'll get you sitting guys down.
We'll get you in 25, 26. And I guess some other names we didn't talk about, Trey. The Rockets took Reed Shepherd with the number 3 pick from Kentucky. You said the Spurs taking Castle there. Cody Williams going to the Jazz at 10. Devin Carter to the Kings at 13. I know we'll get to his look in a second here. Maybe the look of the night in terms of the hair and the flow and being Anthony Carter's son. Anyone else from the top 30 picks here last night?
I like the Nuggets trading up to get Deron Holmes.
Okay.
They've needed a backup center for years. Jeff Green did it during their championship season, but they've had like DeAndre Jordan. Paul Millsap was kind of a backup center for them at one point. They signed Zeke Naji to a big extension last year, 4 years, $32 million. I'm guessing he's available right now because the Nuggets used the very little draft picks they have to hop into the end of the first round and get a guy they liked in Deron Holmes. He's big, he can do a whole bunch of stuff, and he's athletic, which I think is something else that the Nuggets need. I also like the Jazz getting Isaiah Collier at number 29. This is a guy who was potentially a number 1 draft pick coming into the season. I think he was the top recruit coming out of high school. Didn't go great at USC, as we talked about a lot with Bronny James. He does duplicate a lot of what like Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, and Keontae George do. These guys are all ball handlers, but I think getting a guy like Collier at 29 when he was potentially a top 10 pick, a very worthy roll of the dice there. And then I also love Baylor Shireman getting drafted by the Boston Celtics because he was once upon a time a South Dakota State Jackrabbit.
Oh!
Haven't had one in the NBA since Nate Walters.
Wow.
Throwback.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
And we got another Walter last night. The Raptors taking Jacoby Walter there. Any thoughts on that pick, Tass? Did you crunch the tape on him?
I'm crunching the tape. Nate Walters, right?
Walters.
Yeah.
My bad. I said Walters.
Yeah, because there was all this talk yesterday about Jacoby Walter.
Yeah.
So I just had to confirm because it was during the draft that we were told that he was named after 2 basketball players. The Jacoby part of his name.
Yeah, you would think, John Morant and Kobe Bryant, maybe?
Yeah.
No, Jordan. And Kobe.
Yeah, really weird. And I was thinking, Walter. Well, maybe it's Walter. Maybe they just gave him a new last name. Walter Frazier?
Yeah,
but
he's got
no.
3 first names, this guy.
Kobe. I love Castle with the Spurs. I think he's going to.
Yeah.
He looks good. People are excited about his offense. Maybe it's not it hasn't been all that polished, but defensively, him and Wemby are going to be damn good.
NBA Rookie of the Year odds right now. Sarr is the favorite on BetMGM, plus 425. Richache 600, Castle 700, Connect 900, Salon 1000, Shepard 1100, Buzelis 1200, Edie 1200, and then Ron Holland plus 1400.
Edie's the bet.
Edie's the bet, he says.
He's going to score, man. He's going to have an opportunity.
You know he's going to rebound.
Yeah. You know he's going to screen.
Exactly.
This is the time to not bet on the number one guy.
For sure.
And with these bets, because that's what I wanted to see a bunch of GMs do. Take a chance on somebody who's injured or whatever. And that's what bettors should be doing right now. Not betting on the guy who's maybe not worthy of being the number one pick. I mean, just trickle down. Pull a Cam Stewart like Cam Stewart, our former coworker, used to do when he was picking golf. He used to pick the 40th best golfer. I'll pick him. That's what they should do.
Well, usually I don't know, take a surprise pick or reach deep. It felt like this entire draft was that, though, in a weird way. Every selection, it's like, I don't know, you do the best case scenario and then you do the worst case scenario for that player and the comps and stuff like that. No one feels, and this is why everybody was coming into the draft I don't know about this one, 2024. This is going to be a bit of a crapshoot because it doesn't feel like there's one or two guys that are like, yep, that is a centerpiece. Now, that's not to say some of these guys won't pan out to be that, but it does have that vibe of how many All-Stars are in this draft? Could this be the Anthony Bennett draft all over again?
It could be.
It could be.
Definitely could be. But I do think that in general, teams were taking big swings, which is why you saw a guy like Dalton Connect drop in further down into the draft as a 23-year-old. Even Devin Carter is a little bit older as a prospect. He went to number 13, whereas Tijan Salon ended up going number 6. The younger guys went higher in the draft, which is what we usually see.
Totally.
The players are just more well-known in general because people like the idea of what you could be. They don't want to know what you are right now because, look, right now, research say he could become an all-star. Nobody thinks Dalton Connect's going to become an all-star.
Right. That's a good point. Well, let's get into some random notes.
Random!
Let's start with maybe the scene of the draft last night. Our favorite moment happened early after the Hawks' number 1 pick. We had a couple Hawks fans in attendance there in berets, chugging beer with 2 hands. So this guy, especially here on the left, he got a bit of camera time. Again, the berets helped, being Hawks fans helped, and just the way he was chugging his Bud Light was pretty funny. And again, this was a pretty boring draft, if we're being honest, but this got a big pop from the playback crowd.
I think a nice touch by his buddy here wearing the DeJounte Murray jersey.
Oh, very nice. Yes. I like that they had different colored berets, too.
Yeah. You think they had those already? Or they had to go out and get them? I know that berets were popping in Brooklyn within the past 3 years.
Oh, really?
So they could have had them somewhere in the closet. I don't know.
I think a lot of people that go to the draft is sort of planned bits, right? Obviously, rock your jerseys, maybe get a little silly with the berets. Yeah. We saw a Magic fan going nuts that was sitting there. He looked like the lone Magic fan.
Right.
We said if you ever want to get on camera, that's the move. You go to the draft and you are a fan of one of the less popular teams. Because they're going to show you as soon as the Magic pick or whoever, the Thunder pick, it doesn't matter. Just just go crazy. They're going to put you on the broadcast. So if you ever want to get on TV, there's a little tip for you.
That is a very good move. Yeah. Those Hawks fans, those berets looked a little too crisp. I think they're fresh. I don't think they've worn them before.
Fresh.
Yeah, I agree. They went and got them just for this.
Yeah,
because they felt pretty good that a Frenchman was getting picked. Yeah, the number 1 pick. You had basically two guys to pick from, and so they went with it. Yeah.
Nice.
It's good stuff. We brought up Devin Carter's look, and I know we have a photo of it for everybody on YouTube here. He was rocking the glasses, no undershirt. It's like Scumbag Steve in it, sort of, with the suit, and the hair, sort of Gene Simmons like Kiss vibes, as CJ0 was pointing out on Twitter. So.
Yeah, somebody in playback last night said he was drafted straight out of Earth, Wind, and Fire.
I do like this guy. He's a defensive-minded guy. I don't know, is he just going to replace Davion Mitchell? But yeah, his dad, a former pro, and Anthony Carter, and he was pumped that he got picked there. So I think the Kings got a decent one here. A guy that contribute for a team that obviously like they're not really looking for like a super long-term 18-year-old that might pan out in 3 or 4 years. I think they want guys that can help them win right now, and they may not be done trading at all. They might try and move Harrison Barnes or Hurt or something like that. So I think Devin Carter will play for them.
Anthony Carter's son.
I know.
He's in the league. I just didn't see that one coming, but I didn't know that. Devin also looking good with a bit of the like sparkly. Our photo didn't do it justice. Sparkly blazer, I should say. But also, Gene Simmons, you're right. Gene Simmons complimented you on an airplane once, right?
He did. He called me a strapping young man.
Yeah.
Because I helped him take his luggage down.
From the carrier.
Yeah, I think he was at the it was a small plane. I forget where we're going. Small plane. He was in the back row of first class, and I was in the first row, I guess, of coach.
Yeah.
But it was really small, so it was just like one of those stupid little curtains, and it was open.
Yeah.
And I saw him sort of struggling, so I took his luggage down. Thank you, strapping young man.
Yeah, because he had to put it in to coach, basically. Like it was.
Yeah,
it wasn't
he was
in first
probably
class.
taking my spot, to be honest. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, put that under your seat for me.
Yeah.
Oh, you're strong.
I helped him out. What do you have for a random note, TK?
Oh, Matas is Brozelis.
Oh, yeah.
This guy got some serious camera time. Matas, when he was drafted by the hometown Chicago Bulls, started crying instantly, as did his brother, who is a senior in high school. I think his name is Vincas, Vincas.
Okay.
Buzelis. But Matas went and did his like post-draft interviews. You know, he talked to Monica McNutt. He thanked his haters. And then we got a solid 3 to 4 minutes of just close-ups on Brother Zealous.
It was wild how long we stayed on them.
It was almost like the cameraman got confused about who was Matas and who was Vincas.
A little bit.
Because they're like, I mean, they look close enough alike, right? You know, Matas looks like Paul Dano. This guy looks like Paul Dano's brother. So they just kept that camera on him. They're seeing how he reacted. It was a long draft, man. 5 minutes for the pick to get in, and then 5 minutes for Adam Silver to read the pick before he finally came out and talked. So that's how we got a lot of Brozelis.
And they told him, hey, wait, Adam, wait on the next pick.
Yes,
we've got a great guy on camera here. I mean, they literally waited. They waited. They pushed it.
Waited forever. Couldn't believe how long they were on this guy.
He was on for a long time. It's not him. I felt like Donovan Clingan also had it tough. Like as he was sliding slightly down the draft board, they were giving him the long close-ups as well.
Yeah, and he didn't know if he was like, do I look at the camera? And he just kept looking side to side. He didn't know what to do.
He thought he knew where he was going. You can literally read his lips and say, number 7? Is this 7?
Right. Going to the Blazers.
Yep.
And that's where he is. This was making the rounds last night. I know this tweet had like 3.5 million impressions. At Raps Report tweeting, don't ask me to explain this, but Alex Sarr looks like Caitlin Clark. Now, I got to be honest, I immediately saw it. I was like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Well, Scores Odds did the old like face smash loop here, and you're going to see it here on YouTube. Alex Sarr turning into Caitlin Clark, and wow. it's the nose, eyes, and eyebrows are just bang on.
That's amazing. Literally amazing.
So it looks so good. So good stuff there from at Raps Report.
That's a great edit. That's a great edit.
Yeah,
I even start seeing the ears. I think Caitlin Clark's got the same ears. Those aren't her ears, but I mean they're just similar. That's good.
It's really, really good. I love this. We wrap this up too. Keyshawn George, still in the green room, still on the floor, hadn't been drafted yet, working on his handle. Swiss Canadian, just getting left hand there, get some dribbles in with that commemorative ball, the golden ball. You love to see it.
Just working on the handle.
Yeah, God, he looks young, eh?
Yes, he does.
He looks like he's 14 years old. Sort of reminds me of like Anthony Black, last year when we were like, whoa,
you look young.
How young is this kid? So
him and Reed Shepherd win. Most likely to have never shaved in their life before.
Oh yeah. And then my final note from Ben Gulliver, he tweeted last night, an incredibly unfortunate consequence of the NBA draft's 2-day format here. Multiple green room invites sat through the entire first round at the Barclays Center, 3+ hours, and they weren't picked. So they now have to wait until today, the second round, which is held in a completely different spot. It's in the ESPN TV studio. We're talking about Kyle Filipowski, Johnny Furphy, couple other guys there in the green room.
Sounds like a made-up name.
Furphy's Law.
Furphy.
You won't be picked in the first round. That's sort of weird. I mean, that sucks.
That sucks.
I mean, it sucked. It sucked to sort of watch this thing.
How many
From the
were
comfort of
left
my
over?
home. I know those two guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if there
A
was any
handful.
more. Yeah.
There was a
but,
couple of like crowd guys.
Yeah,
coming
crowd,
down.
yeah, for sure,
Love a
for
crowd
sure.
guy.
But man, you got all suited and booted, and I don't know. You walked the red carpet, I assume. You did some interviews, I assume, and then you're left there. Not getting drafted, you just got to come back today. Or do you? I don't know. Is anybody even going to be there today?
None of these guys picked out a
I
second
guess
suit.
they will be. Oh, that's a good question. Wow. Oh.
This is my day 2
So anyway,
suit.
yeah, the Raptors get us started with the 31st pick here in the second round at 4 p.m. Eastern today from the ESPN TV studio.
Yeah, it is. I have no idea whether or not the players will be there.
I guess
part's
they
interesting.
gotta be, right? Because this is like, it's a pretty iconic moment in a player's career.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And so,
But then
I guess
again,
they'll be
Zach
coming up
Edey
to a
wasn't
desk.
there.
Yeah, he was watching with family.
Yeah, so
A lot of second rounders aren't
there.
there, but it's also not a 2-day draft usually.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my notes. Anything else?
Yeah, I liked when the Sixers drafted Jared McCain at number 16. They showed us TikTok highlights for a full minute before we got to his basketball highlights.
Yeah.
So I guess the Sixers got the best TikToker in the draft, which is exciting for them because he's a very short guy. So they're going to have a pretty short backcourt if it's him and Maxey. But also the Sixers have like 3 players right now, and Jared McCain is one of them.
Yes. That's true. That's a good point. Embiid, Maxey, and now McCain.
Yeah, you said there was a Swiss Canadian. Is McCain any Canadian? Because I love I love McCain French fries.
Man, what a
Come on.
What a pull.
Frozen pizzas.
Nice, very nice. They make good frozen stuff. McCain does. Anyways,
All right, let's move off of the draft here. Let's get to some other news in the NBA world. Let's start with the Knicks and the Nets shaking up the NBA the night before the draft. They made a crosstown trade. Very rare, those crosstown trades between the Knicks and the Nets. The trade will send forward Mikal Bridges and a 2026 second-round pick to the Knicks for Bojan Bogdanovic. 4 unprotected first-round picks, 25, 27, 29, and 31. A 2025 protected first-rounder by way of the Bucks. A 28 unprotected pick swap. And a 2025 second-rounder to the Nets. We did an emergency podcast on this. Trey and I did. But Tass, what were your takeaways from Mikal Bridges going to the Knicks? Were you a fan of this? Did they overpay for friendship? What's your take?
I'm excited for the New York Knicks. I'm excited for us basketball fans because the Eastern Conference just got better. They got a dog in them. These New York Knicks, the Eastern Conference got a dog in them now. They clearly have the second best team. I think they have definitely jumped over the Milwaukee Bucks, and they are the second best team, and they will rival the Boston Celtics. Look at those lineups. Listen, they were hurt in these playoffs, not just because the guys who got hurt during the playoffs in OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson went down. They had lots of guys get hurt. Their center spot got hurt. But also Julius Randle, an all-star, was hurt throughout the entire postseason. So just look at the starting lineup is a question mark for me. Is it Brunson, OG, who's now re-signed, Mikal Bridges, Randle, and Mitchell? And then DiVincenzo comes off the bench? Maybe not. But Hart and McBride also off the bench, let's say. That's 8 really, really good players. Now, we don't know if they're going to be able to sign Hartenstein now that they've signed OG. But at the backup center spot behind Mitchell Robinson, you'll probably see some Randle, some occasional OG, some occasional Bridges. Even Josh Hart is very tiny, but he's very, very physical. So I'm excited for this team. I'm just excited. This team should have been in the conference finals. I think they would have been if they were healthy. And they would have been rivaling the Boston Celtics. Now they just added Mikal Bridges, who is, stops everybody. Now, did they overpay? It's a hard one to tell.
A lot of picks.
It's a lot of picks. They are for Mikal Bridges. Yes.
Guy's never been an all-star. They traded 5 first-round picks for him.
Not good ones. Probably not. No. Okay. I don't.
No way to know.
We don't know.
We don't know. But they have bought in. It's all four of theirs are, throughout the next 5-6 years, they think they're going to be good. Which, why wouldn't they be? The question marks are they going to be injured at times because they were injured this season? They just re-signed OG, who has been injured several years in a row. Although I do now think with Tibbs has to play Bridges and OG even fewer minutes. That's a good sign for OG's future. But I do think he is getting better at staying healthy. Anyways, I can't.
OG Anunoby?
OG's always hurt.
Yeah.
He got hurt twice.
It's the end of the season and the end of the playoffs.
That's why they went and got Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
He never misses a game.
He did, but season to season, he has gotten better, gotten healthier.
I think it's funny that they got now a guy that never misses a game and a guy that OG that always misses 30 to 35 games. And, I'll spin that into it here now because they did sign him, or they intend to sign him, I should say, the Knicks, OG Anunoby, to a 5-year, $212.5 million contract. That deal will include a player option and a trade kicker. So you've had more time to think about the Mikal Bridges trade. Now we know that OG is staying there. We said it on the emergency podcast. I don't think they do this move, trade all that draft capital if they don't plan on signing OG as well. So they are going to sign him. What do you think of the deal and the cost for him, and again the Bridges trade of it all?
I think it's definitely an overpay for Mikal Bridges, but I also love the Knicks getting Mikal Bridges. But 5 first-round picks for a guy who's never been an All-Star, and now trading him onto this team, probably even less likely that he makes an All-Star team, since he's probably number 2 on this team, though he's probably tied with OG Anunoby for number 2. Julius Randle was the number 2. The Knicks have sent one guy to the All-Star game for most of these couple of seasons here, but they're also trading with the Nets, who want to make it tough on them, so they have to overpay there. They didn't really have to overpay for OG Anunoby. The contract is cheap for Bridges. It's cheap for Brunson, so they're probably paying OG Anunoby a little bit more money, but when you average it all out between those 3, I think it's good. The question for me is what's going to happen in the front court. OG and Randle were good together last year, but the Knicks were pretty solid. When Randle went down, it meant that Josh Hart played a lot more. It meant that Dante DiVincenzo played a lot more. They shot a whole bunch of threes. So that's a question to me, too, is like, DiVincenzo, he'll be a good bench player, but he was a good starter for him last year. Hit a lot of big shots in the playoffs. But I'm with you. I think the Knicks are the second best team in the Eastern Conference. I still think the Celtics are quite a bit ahead of them. Mm-hmm. But I think they're clearly number 2. And Milwaukee is probably the only one I would say is challenging them.
Yeah, the question for this New York Knicks team is how much are they going to buy into sacrificing? So many guys are just damn good. It reminds me a little bit of the Boston Celtics and how they are comfortable sacrificing, because Derek White and Drew Holiday need to get theirs, and that optimizes everything. So listen, Mikal Bridges was a really good scorer at times for the Brooklyn Nets. He's a better scorer than OG Anunoby is. He can put it on the floor and he can score in the mid-range, but now that gets even diminished more. Jalen Brunson's got to get diminished a little bit. Julius Randle's got to get diminished a little bit. His scoring has to come down. So yeah, that is a fair question. That's why I think they've got to put a air quote scorer on the bench, whoever it is. So it could be one. It could be I just don't see how you put OG or Mikal on the bench.
No,
but
I think DiVincenzo probably.
Probably DiVincenzo, but he can come off firing off the bench. Yeah, these guys just have to buy in, and maybe it's this chemistry and this friendship that bodes well for them, because they just have to be able to fire and when the ball comes to them, just like the Boston Celtics. So the big man rotation is a fair question mark. Like Mitchell Robinson is a guy who gets hurt more than OG Anunoby, I'd say. And so that is their starting center. That is their big. And it looks like Hartenstein's not coming back. So that's a fair question for them.
I do like your point about some people saw 5 years, $212 million for OG Anunoby and were like, whoa, wow, that is a lot of money for a guy that especially has a lot of injury problems. So while yes, $40 million, per year basically for OG does feel like a lot and probably is a lot, when you consider Bridges and the contract he's on and Brunson, the deal he's on, you combine those together, what are you looking at? Like $88 million really for a year for those 3 guys? It's not as bad because they got they got their 2 best players in theory. I mean, Randall's really, really good too, but in Brunson and Mikal Bridges on sort of discount deals for the level they play at, then it's not as hard a pill to swallow, I guess, here. But yeah, the Hartenstein part of this all, if they do lose him, if somebody overpays for him and really, really wants him, and they'd be really in a tough spot to keep him, that's a tough loss because he was obviously really good in the postseason and once Mitchell Robinson went down. And he's there, but that guy's always injured as well. So We'll see here, but overall, for the most part, you guys seem to like the Mikal Bridges. We all like the Mikal Bridges deal. Friendship, man. It's pretty important. It's going to cost you a lot of picks.
It's going to cost you a lot of picks.
Get the boys together. All right. In a secondary deal on Tuesday night, the Nets completed a trade with the Houston Rockets involving several future draft picks. I could try and break it all down with these rights to the least favorable of so-and-so. The premise is pretty simple. The Nets are basically getting their picks back they're getting the returner of their 2025 first-round pick swap from the Rockets, and they're getting their 2026 first-round pick. The Rockets are getting sort of like Suns picks, and then these other sort of least favorable, most favorable type things. But that's at the premise. The Nets getting their picks back. TK. And they also signed Nick Claxton to a 4-year, $100 million deal. Thoughts on what the Nets have done over the last couple of days?
The Nets made a smart decision. It was going to be hard to move off of Mikal Bridges because he was the centerpiece of the Kevin Durant trade after that era went up in smoke. But they did a good job. They did a smart thing here, deciding to reset. Basically, they're going into a 2-year tank because they have their picks for next year's draft, 2025, and 2026 after that. Their picks are still gone. So they got a bunch of stuff from the Knicks that'll be probably later on in the draft, though. Who knows? Maybe they'll hit the lottery on one of those ones. That'd be great for them. But they got a chance to be one of the 5 worst teams in the league, and I think that that's pretty obviously going to be the case. For Houston, I guess it came down to, would you rather have the Nets picks or the Suns picks? They're probably about equal because the Nets, after trading Mikal Bridges, we knew they were going to be bad. So they could have still given Houston a lottery pick for 2025, even if they kept Bridges. But the Suns picks even further out, basically Houston is betting you're going to implode before you get to those picks. Or that's why I do think there is a little smoke to the Kevin Durant thing. They do basically what the Nets did. The Rockets say, hey, Phoenix, you want your future back? Send us Kevin Durant or maybe even Devin Booker if push comes to shove. So I don't know what you guys would rather have. The Nets picks in 25-26 or the Suns picks in like 27-29?
I think I would rather the Nets picks in these next couple of years. So I was a little sort of shocked by that. But yeah, are they doing something here? Are they accumulating these more future picks for the idea of trying to get Kevin Durant? Now, we should say, Suns owner Matt Ishbia last night said, what the hell are you talking about with these Kevin Durant rumors to the Rockets? He tweeted, NBA draft night is the best. I disagree with that. But anyway, everyone talking about the drama and storylines. Some are right and some are just wrong. My turn. Phoenix loves Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant loves Phoenix, and we are competing for a championship this year because we have the team to do it. Gotta love draft night. Go Suns.
Go Suns.
So, yeah, Tass, your takeaway on the Rockets doing this sort of swap thing here with the Nets and these rumors of them at least big game hunting the Rockets reportedly are. Be it for Kevin Durant. I don't think the Suns are moving down Booker, but maybe another star out there. What do you think?
Yeah, it is a calculation of risk reward for the Houston Rockets, saying, we could have 4 high picks in the next 5 years with the way things work out, because in 2029 they can get both Dallas and Phoenix's pick. And they could get Phoenix's unprotected 2027 first round pick, and they can get Phoenix's 2025 pick. So they are taking a risk here to say Phoenix is going to blow this thing up. Phoenix is going to be bad. I don't know what they know about Matt Ishbia's mortgages and that business there, or what's going on with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. I don't know. Kevin Durant was working out with NBA players yesterday. Does that mean he hates Phoenix? It is a risk, that's for sure. So you can either have 4 picks in the next 5 years, or you can have the Nets 2 picks over the next 2 years. And, like the Brooklyn Nets this year with Mikal Bridges were the number 3 worst team in the NBA. And they had the number 3 pick, I should say. Would you rather have that? It is, let's say that Phoenix is good the next 3 seasons. They give it the next pick for what? I mean, it's a risk. That is for sure.
Part of the equation might be that they are really young as it is, the Houston Rockets, and have a lot of young picks, obviously bringing in Reed Sheppard, just another one to add, that they're like, we don't need to be this team that's always having, sometimes it's great because you want a bunch of bites at the apple, but we could space these out and push them down the line because we got a lot of our young guys right now that we want to develop. Maybe that's part of the equation in their thinking.
Yeah, for sure. That is definitely part of it. I do think the Nets are making a good move in trying to be very, very bad now. It took a while for Sean Marks to do that, but Ben Simmons has 1 year left on a monstrous deal, and you've got Cam Johnson, who I'm sure is available. Your DFSs, your Dorian Finney-Smiths, your Schroeders. Who do you want? Come get them, because we want to be very, very bad for the next couple of years.
Nick Claxton, though, will not be, in theory, being moved. And they said he was a top offseason priority. I remember Sean Marks was saying that. And then Jordi Fernandez, when he got hired as the new head coach, he was like, that guy could be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. So they were talking him up, and they wanted to obviously keep him. And they do, on a decent deal here for a guy his age. He averaged, 12 and 10 on a very bad team, but 2 blocks per game. It gives you something on the defensive end. So they're at least going to use him as a bit of a building block here. And I guess who are the free agents in the center position? Valanciunas, Hartenstein, and then really Nick Claxton. So he's off the board.
Yeah, he's got to be the most anonymous $100 million deal in the league.
Yeah.
It's either him or Anthony Simons, who signed one in 2022.
That's a good point.
I don't think anybody's really seen these guys play.
Yeah.
Like as casual fans. But he's 25 years old. Hartenstein is going to be 26 years old. Similar markets. So to me, my main read on this is bad news for the Knicks because they can only offer Hartenstein, like 17.8 per year or something like that. And if Nick Claxton is getting $100 million and they're very similar players, you would think that Hartenstein will as well. So, I think good on the Nets. They've got the money now to spend on players. You might as well keep around the one promising young guy you have.
Yeah, things have changed in the NBA. Like $100 million doesn't mean all that much anymore. Like that, it's a good amount of money, obviously, but it's going to go to a lot of people now with the new CBA and the new TV deal. $100 million ain't that much, really.
Yeah. I mean, especially when, if it's $25 million per year, it's just going to be less and less percentage of your cap space as the cap goes up. Bam Adebayo, 3-time All-Star, 5-time All-Defensive Player. He intends to sign a 3-year, $166 million extension with the Heat when the league's offseason moratorium on such moves is lifted next month. That's according to multiple reports. Bam had 2 years left on his fat extension he signed with Miami in 2020, but 3 years, 166 for one of the best, one of the best centers in the league, and definitely one of the best defensive centers in the league. No surprises here, I assume, from anyone.
Now, there was that huge write-up on The Athletic basically saying Bam Adebayo is Heat culture after Udonis Haslem retired, so makes sense that they would lock him in for a long time. Like you said, he's still young. He's very good defensively. He's pretty good offensively, and obviously the Heat love him. So I guess job number one for him is coaching up Khalil Ware.
Yeah, right.
Their draft pick last night, who people were saying an odd fit for Heat culture, giving his his motor. But you can learn. I guess you can learn to play hard. Some guys can.
Sure.
Hassan Whiteside learned for a little while. Dion Waiters learned for a little while. It was when they left the Heat that was a problem.
Yeah.
Bam obviously has got a heck of a motor. So this 3-year extension is interesting, and John Hollinger wrote about it. He could have waited until next year when he was open to getting more money. He could have, depending if he makes an All-NBA team this year, his 5-year extension that he would have signed 12 months from now would have been, listen to this dollar figure, $346 million. What? Based on, he got the Supermax next year, but he was betting on himself, I guess, because in 3 years from now he can now sign an extension for $255 million when he's 30 years old. So instead of going, it's the Carmelo Anthony thing and what he did. He signs a shorter term deal to get paid again, and he's just betting on himself, which I guess is a good move because he's always going to be wanted a lot.
Yeah, I do like Miami's basically looking at Bam Adebayo as like their this year or this decade's version of Alonzo Mourning, right? Like this culture setting big that was there for a long time. I know he wasn't like Bam has so far been a Heat lifer. Mourning did play start of his career for the Hornets, but then played a very, very long time for the Miami Heat in the front office. It feels like that's like there's similarities there. There's as a backbone and again a locker room guy and stuff like that. So and the guy's really good. I mean, he averages 20. He had sort of like a, I don't want to say a bad year, but like a quiet year because the Heat struggled. But still, he's like 20, 10, and 4. In a year that, again, the Heat didn't have a good one. So he gets paid. Final piece of news here. It's a rumor. The Golden State Warriors have been one of the more, I guess, active teams on the trade market. Sources tell Logan Murdoch of The Ringer that Andrew Wiggins has been aggressively offered in trade discussions, and they're also working hard to trade Chris Paul. The Warriors, if you're keeping track here, they own their first-round picks from 25 until 29 that could be used in trades. But your takeaway on The Ringer's Logan Murdoch saying, Warriors are trying to obviously upgrade here, still around Steph. Who knows about Clay? But Wiggins, Chris Paul being dangled.
Yeah, they're being dangled. Yeah. I mean, I guess it might take some picks to move off of either of these contracts. Chris Paul is an interesting one. His contract guarantees on Friday, so the trade would have to happen pretty soon, or they can negotiate and like push back the guaranteed date. I don't know if there's a team out there that like wants Chris Paul as the veteran guy to come help and set up your big guy. And maybe he fits with San Antonio. I don't know. But he wasn't a very impactful player for the Warriors. Got hurt for a chunk of time and then was solid. But nothing spectacular, I didn't think. Andrew Wiggins has been a disappointment for Golden State outside of the 2022 season, especially since signing his contract there. So I think it might be tough for them to find a trade for Andrew Wiggins. I don't know who's betting on him at this point in his career after he promised Glenn Taylor he was going to work harder. He did for the Warriors and then got the contract and has not been the case thus far. But there's been a lot of Paul George buzz for the Golden State Warriors. He would obviously fit alongside them, and they need to get better if they think that they can realistically contend with Steph Curry during the twilight years of his prime. He's still a top 10 player. He was still in the mix for MVP consideration early in the season. Once Draymond went out of the lineup, that was basically over for Curry and for the Warriors. They finished 10th, and they just looked like an also-ran team in the Western Conference. So it makes sense that they would have to be trying to trade Wiggins and Chris Paul because there's not a lot of other ways for them to get much better, and this is a competitive field of teams out west.
Yeah, and as for Paul George, he has until Saturday whether to orchestrate an opt-in and trade scenario or become a free agent. So there is that.
Yeah, these dates are coming.
Yeah.
As Trey said, Chris Paul's contract could be, become fully guaranteed after Friday. And I looked at it and I saw June 28th. That's tomorrow? Wow. That is coming quick. But they can negotiate and say, hey, Chris Paul, can we give us a few more days before we guarantee this contract? Or Paul George, which is really, really interesting there and where he goes. But yes, the hot rumor is that he goes to Golden State. This rumor / news from Logan Murdoch, I think is real. I think it's definitely what the Golden State Warriors are doing, and that's a good sign for the Golden State Warriors and their fans that they are going to try and go for it again because Wiggins and Chris Paul have not been adding to a air quotes championship type team. It's just not happening. They hope that Andrew Wiggins has a great Olympics with Canada. He should be playing with the Canadian Olympic team. He's definitely going to the tryout, but it's called a tryout. It's going to be called a tryout for him. He's not necessarily on the team, but they probably hope that he looks great because he's got 3 more years of contract where he's getting paid the same amount that Chris Paul would be guaranteed basically at around $30 per year. So that's a lot of dough.
But in order to trade him, I think Trey's right. They're going to have to attach first-round picks or, of course, attach a young prospect that they love, be it Kuminga or Moody. Like, if you're looking at a guy like Paul George, like if you're trying to trade Wiggins really for Paul George, there's got to be more, of course.
Why would the Clippers do that? Yeah, they need somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
They would need it just because Paul George is leaving.
Right. Yeah, that's a good
They
point.
would take something back rather than nothing.
So we will see. We'll wait on that one. That one, if Paul George gets moves to the Warriors or Sixers or whatever, that maybe will warrant an emergency podcast. But before we go, let's get to tweet of the night.
Tweet of the night. Wow.
Twitter.
I initially was going to show you guys the newest jerseys, the statement jerseys that we've got from some teams. Golden State Warriors, did you see those?
Yeah.
Pretty basic.
Statement.
They just say Golden State.
Way too simple.
And they got a secondary logo, and it's fine, but it was pretty basic. And then the Wizards made people stay up until like 2:02 in the morning the other night to unveil their statement jerseys. Yeah. They're fine, nice colors, but nothing unique.
Yeah, it looked like a hockey jersey to me.
Yeah.
They might look decent on TV, but they're meant to be worn. And I don't think they're going to look all that good on the bod.
Wow.
It's just a lot of coverage. I mean, the Golden State one's definitely worse in that it's super simple.
It's just boring. Yeah.
It's like a graphic designer completed like stage 1. Like you just started the font. Like right? That's all it looks like.
All right, Golden State.
Yeah.
Done.
I'll throw a blue line on there.
I mean, like they were almost selling the
is there a
jerseys
blue
on.
line? Nice.
Yeah, there's a slight blue line.
They were
a
selling
sloping cable, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
They're selling those jerseys
Sold
on the
me now.
secondary logo of that little W that looks like a net.
On the shorts.
That's what they were selling.
It's only on the shorts.
I
It's a nice
scrapped
net.
it. I
It is a
scrapped
nice
it. They're
net.
so boring. I can't believe we even talked about it for a
space.
couple minutes. I got some banger tweets. Matt Ufford, he tweeted last night, "This is my new favorite piece of sports trivia," and it's from Seth Rosenthal. He had this on social. "Happy 40th birthday," this was yesterday, "to all the point guards on the 2015-16 Dallas Mavericks." And this is a weird little trivia fact here that Darren Williams, Raymond Felton, and JJ Barea, who are all on the 15-16 Mavs, all shared the exact same birthday. June 26th, 1984. Very, very weird. Well, that got at ATL Hawks Fanatic tweeting in, hey, it reminds me of a Manu Ginobili factoid where before every game he would check how many players had the same birthday. He must have been befuddled that season with the Mavericks. And here's a portion of a Zach Lowe article from 2018. There was an Argentine mathematics professor who once presented Ginobili with a riddle. How many people need to be in one room for there to be at least a 50% chance that two have the same birthday? The answer is 23. Ginobili was in disbelief. So he began testing the solution before every Spurs game by scanning team rosters, which list birth dates of every player, 30 in total. I still do it every game, Ginobili was quoted as saying. So there you go. Good little factoid there. Thank you to ATL Hawks Fanatic and to Matt and, of course, to Seth, who I think has shared this before. This little factoid, yeah, we've talked about before. It's just a great little weird quirk. 3 guys, June 26, 1984.
Yeah, and a weird quirk seeing somebody on Twitter share something that was on Blue Sky.
Yeah, that's right.
I forgot about that service.
Yeah.
But man, that is a crazy fact. Only 23 people need to be in a room to have a better than 50% chance that you'll have the same birthday? That doesn't make sense.
I agree with Manu.
It's 365 to 66 days a year.
So he just says there's a 50% chance that there's a chance
that two have the same birthday
of 30 people. The chance is 50%. The mathematics professor needs to come here and explain it.
We can try and make that happen.
Where does
a full podcast?
Where does it come from? Why?
That was an epic article, that Zach Lowe article on Ginobili. It was
a few years back.
Oh, yeah. 2018. I just was shocked by how in-depth it was. There's some great stuff in it. I was reading it this morning.
Yeah, it's a good point about doing a podcast. Let's see if that mathematics professor is available.
You know, reach out?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder when his birthday is.
Wow, if it's one of ours.
It could be.
That'd be wild. It could be. Definitely could be.
50% chance. No,
all right. Not. Let's call it there. Let's hear from you, though. Your NBA draft winners, losers, surprises, key questions, and what are you expecting here in day 2 of the draft that gets started at 4 p.m. Eastern today? Where is Bronny James going to go? 55th pick? That's what Hollinger said, right? To the Lakers.
That's right.
They'll take him if he's there, but will somebody, swoop in and take him before? Hold him hostage, as people are saying.
Celtics didn't do it.
People want the Knicks to do it here in the second round. Be pretty funny. As somebody said, just draft him. Even if he doesn't play for your team, but you can sell like 1 million James jerseys for your squad, especially in New York. Maybe something there. Make 100 million in jersey sales. We'll see. Anyway, that's later today. Just a reminder, live show in Vegas, basically 2 weeks from tomorrow. Jeez, man, yeah. June is almost done, man. Wow. July 12th at Level Up at the MGM Grand. No Dunks Live. Free show. Come on out. 4 p.m. Eastern. It's like the second round of the draft, baby. Hopefully a little more entertaining.
Indeed it is.
I think it will be. All right. So we will see you, I guess, tomorrow. And I think we're planning on doing an NBA free agency show on Sunday as well. So lots of No Dunks content coming your way. Until then, Clipper Bros.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, some birthdays coming in from the stream team.
Okay.
A lot of people just saying what their birthday is.
Okay.
But our man Hootski shouts out May 27th for his own birthday and Frank Thomas's birthday, the big hurt.
Eugenics.
Yeah. See, I don't think he was ever hurt.
Eugenics for your birthday.
Yeah, the eugenics. Right, because he had a lot of supplements. So the big hurt, I guess, was the hurt that he put on baseballs.
Yeah.
And not so much himself, because he was taking eugenics.
He was a healthy guy.
He was a healthy guy. He played in a lot of games. And a lot of ding-dongs.
How many dingers did he hit? He didn't hit 500.
Yeah, he did.
He did?
Yeah, he's a hoffer.
Damn. Good for the big hurt.
I don't know how many he hit, though. I mean, I'm just making that up. But I'm pretty sure.
I don't think we've had a matched birthday yet. People are in the stream team say, we got over 1,000 people and nobody's matched up.
Oh, geez.
Come on, Matthew.
We got to get this professor on here. Ginobili's onto something here. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
All right. Did it happen 50% of the time every game? I don't know.
521 ding-dongs. But anyways, FYI. Look,
for Frank
I can't
Thomas.
wait. Come on, somebody say one of our birthdays. There's 1,200 people here.
Yeah, come on.
Wow.
Nothing happening yet.
Keep them coming. Drop them in the chat, all right, below the video. Share your birthday. Brace the day, people.